On Iran, there is the possibility of a resolution to a problem that has been a challenge for American national security for over a decade now. And that is getting Iran to, in a verifiable fashion, not pursue a nuclear weapon. Already, even with the interim deal that we struck in Geneva, we had the first halt and, in some cases, some rollback of Iran's nuclear capabilities. The first time that we've seen that in almost a decade. And we now have a structure in which we can have a very serious conversation to see is. It possible for Iran to get right with the international community in a verifiable fashion? To give us all confidence that any peaceful nuclear program that they have is not going to be weaponized in a way that threatens us or allies in the region, including Israel. And as I've said before and I will repeat, it is very important for us to test whether that's possible. Not because it's guaranteed, but because the alternative is possibly us having to engage. In some sort of conflict to resolve the problem with all kinds of unintended consequences. Now, I've been very clear from the start, I mean what I say. It is my goal to prevent Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon. But I sure would rather do it diplomatically. I'm keeping all options on the table, but if I can do it diplomatically, that's how we should do it. And I would think that would be the preference of everybody upon. Capitol Hill, because that sure is the preference of the American people. And we lose nothing during this negotiation period. Ironically, if we did not have this 6-month period in which we're testing whether we can get a comprehensive solution to this problem, they'd be advancing even further on their nuclear program. And in light of all that, what I've said to members of Congress Democrats, and Republicans is there is no need for new sanctions legislation. Not yet. Now, if Iran comes back and says, we can't give you assurances that we're not going to weaponize. If they're not willing to address some of their capabilities that we know could end up resulting in them having breakout capacity. It's not going to be hard for us to turn the dials back, strengthen sanctions even further. I'll work with members of Congress to put even more pressure on Iran. But there's no reason to do it right now. And so I'm not surprised that there's been some talk from some members of Congress about new sanctions. I think the politics of trying to look tough on Iran are often good when you're running for office or if you're in office. But as President of the United States right now, who's been responsible over the last 4 years? With the help of Congress, in putting together a comprehensive sanctions regime that was specifically designed to put pressure on them and bring them to the table to negotiate what I'm saying to them. What I've said to the international community, and what I've said to the American people is let's test it. Now is the time to try to see if we can get this thing done. And I've heard some logic that says, well, Mr. President, we're supportive of the negotiations. But we think it's really useful to have this club hanging over Iran's head. Well, first of all, we still have the existing sanctions already in place that are resulting in Iran losing billions of dollars every month in lost oil sales. We already have banking and financial sanctions that are still being applied even as the negotiations are taking place. It's not as if we're letting up on that. I've heard arguments, well, but this way we can be assured and the Iranians will. Know that if negotiations fail, even new and harsher sanctions will be put into place. Listen, I don't think the Iranians have any doubt that Congress would be more than happy to pass more. Sanctions legislation. We can do that in a day, on a dime. But if we're serious about negotiations, we've got to create an atmosphere in which Iran is willing to move in ways that are uncomfortable for them and contrary to their ideology and rhetoric and their instincts and their suspicions of us. And we don't help get them to a position where we can actually resolve this by engaging in this kind of action. Okay, everybody, I think I'm going to take one more question. Colleen McCain Nelson. And that is it? Q. Thank you, Mr. President. President Obama, there you are. Q. President Obama, I just had lunch with Pete Rouse, who is leaving me. And that's tough. Q. He says so. President Obama, he says so right now at least. I love that guy and that will be a significant loss. Although he'll still be in town and, hopefully, I'll be able to consult with him on an ongoing basis. I think the fact that John Podesta is coming in will be terrific. He may deny it, but I've been trying to get him in here for quite some time. He ran my transition. Office. I asked him when he was running the transition office if he would be willing to join us. And at that time I think he was still feeling that he wanted to develop CAP and other organizations. But John is a great strategist, as good as anybody on domestic policy. And I think he'll be a huge boost to us and give us more bandwidth to deal with more issues. I suspect that we may have additional announcements in the new year. There's a natural turnover that takes place. People get tired. People get worn out. Sometimes, you need fresh legs. But what I can tell you is that the team I have now is tireless and shares my values. And believes the thing that I think I've repeated probably 4 or 5 times in this press conference. Which is we get this incredible privilege for a pretty short period of time. To do as much as we can for as many people as we can to help them live better lives. And that's what drives them. That's the sacrifice they make being away from families and soccer games and birthdays. And some of them will end up working over Christmas on issues like Iran. And the fact that they make those kinds of sacrifices I'm always grateful for. And if they then say to me after making those sacrifices for 3 4, 5 years, I need a break, then I completely understand. All right. Have a great holiday, everybody. Appreciate you. Q. Merry Christmas. President Obama, Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Barack Obama. Young Leaders of the Americas Initiative Town Hall. Delivered March 23, 2016, Usina del Arte, Buenos Aires, Argentina. Hola. Thank you. Thank you so much. Muchas gracias. Celeste, thank you for the wonderful introduction. Please give Celeste a big round of applause. That's not easy to do. I want to thank everybody at the Usina del Arte for hosting us today. And I want you to know that the reason I came here is, in part, because I wanted to come to Buenos Aires ever since I was a young person like you. I very much enjoyed Argentinian literature authors like Borges and Cortázar. And so I would read them and became fascinated with Buenos Aires. I said at my press conference today, the only problem was when I was reading. People were always drinking mate, and I didn't know what that was. So I just had my first mate today. It was good. It was good. And my team. My staff thought I was very clear-headed at the press conference, and they said it must be the mate. So I'm going to try to take some back. But I also wanted to bring my daughters here, so they could see the beauty and the vibrancy of the city. They've already met one famous Argentinian, His Holiness Pope Francis. Now they want to meet Messi, but I could not arrange that. They will not get a chance to experience the Palermo at night. They will have to come back on their own to do that, not with their father. And we're looking forward to visiting Bariloche tomorrow. But also, whenever I travel, I always want to spend time with young people. Your generation has grown up in times of breathtaking change. In your lives, you've seen massive global declines in poverty and disease, so there's a lot. Of good news out there. You've seen incredible strides for women's rights and LGBT rights. You've mastered technology. The world is connected now in ways that we couldn't imagine even 10, 20 years ago. But you've also seen unthinkable violence from terrorists who try to tear us apart, whether at an airport in Brussels, as we just saw, or a Jewish center in Buenos Aires. And all of us Americans and Argentinians alike stand against the scourge of terrorism. And we stand with the people of Belgium during this time of enormous sorrow. And yet, even though you've come of an age where change is happening so rapidly, your generation, I think, believes deeply that you can change this world for the better. You're more interested in hard work, the hard work of waging peace, than the easy impulse towards conflict. You're more interested in the hard work of building prosperity through entrepreneurship. instead of cronyism and corruption. You're more eager for the progress that comes not from holding down people who are not like you. But lifting everybody up so that everybody has an opportunity. Regardless of what they look like or how they pray or who they love. And that makes me hopeful. I'm always inspired by young people.